Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk a little bit about mailing campaigns and how you have managed to stay consistent over the years. We're joined today by a number of people that have been taking part. We've got Christy Levine, Karen Williams, June Griffiths, Lynn Shee, Steve Clark, and Lynn McGugan. Thank you all for joining us today. Denise, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, probably one of the most difficult parts of a real estate agent's business is dealing with the cycles that real estate always has. And the idea of being consistent at anything is extremely hard for most real estate agents to do. All of you guys that are here today have that one thing in common, and that is that you have made the decision to be consistent about having a geographical farm, mailing to it on a regular basis, really committing to a long-term campaign, which, by the way, is a huge key element of being successful. I'm really curious to hear from you. What has having a geographical farm, how has that affected your business and also your confidence level? So I'm going to start first with Steve. Steve, do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. I guess is just right off what it's been doing for our business is it's been creating a regular and steady engagement with the people that we're trying to reach. Our niche is all about upzone properties, and so what we do is we mail to those owners directly, and what we're able to do is send mailers that we know that about subjects that we know that are on their mind, and so that gives us credibility, I think, right away. And it also gives people a reason to contact us because they feel that we can answer their questions and we may be able to give them, even more information.
And you've had very good success with this niche market and very good success with your mailers. What has been your secret to that success?
Well, I think the most important thing is the consistency. I would love to believe that I just have to send out one mailer and it went to my target market and it made it to the right mailbox and at the right time where that person picked it up and looked at it right away when they were in the right mood to really engage with the content. But that isn't always going to happen. Sometimes it is the third or fourth mailer that we'll send out that'll actually generate a response. And it could be a number of different things that, maybe the first two where the timing was bad or they got, misplaced in the mail. But I think it's the consistency is the most important part.
That's awesome. Now you've had great success with your mailers. And I often ask agents that finally find that thing that gives them that, it's a level of confidence you get knowing that if I'm just consistent and I continue with my mailers, something's going to happen. So clearly your confidence level must be higher now, doing that. You're doing this consistently. You've had some positive results.
Yes, I believe that not only has it shown me that now I believe that it works for this niche, our target audience, but I believe it's going to work for anything. If I, in 5 years when, maybe the areas that we've been working are, they've all been, majority of them have been sold, that I can switch around and I can decide on another target market and start mailing to those people and they're going to call me.
Excellent. The other thing I love about what you've done with your mailers is you have really set yourself apart from any other agent in the area because there's a lot of work and effort that goes into that in terms of custom content. And I think that's a real big key as well, is making sure that that content is customized. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it's really important. It's not just cookie cutter. You can't just send out a generic message.
Right. So because our niche and our clientele or the owners would be, it's a pretty unique situation where if you could just imagine that the house that you've lived in, you figured you'd live in for the rest of your life, and in the neighborhood that you planned on to live for decades more, all of a sudden it just starts changing right in front of their eyes. And so a lot of people don't know what's happening. What we do with our mailers, as far as generating the content, it's all of these things that people tell us that they don't understand, that they want to know more about. And so all of our mailers are really targeted towards questions that we get from people. So we just know that if one neighbor has that question, well, there could be, actually the entire region could have the very same question. How is this going to impact them? Or how are they going to, navigate this change, and what is their best course of action? So the mailers that I think when they show up, oftentimes are something, there'll be a headline that is really speaking to something that has been on top of their mind for maybe months. And they pick that up, and we'll get a phone call. And what's great is after we finally get a chance to talk with them, and maybe even have a 1 hour meeting through Zoom or in person, they immediately say, well, I'm going to go talk to these 7 people who live right next to me. And that's what we are really targeting. It's about, not just working with one person on a block, it's working with their entire neighborhood.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, I would say, and I want to discuss headlines, because the type of content you send out, one of the things that we work really hard to do is to make sure that things are customized to match that agent's niche market, but also we look at things like powerful headlines, detail, that sort of thing. I want to talk to Lynn Shih, because Lynn, you have a very specialized niche market. When I first started talking to you about geographical farming, you were not the most willing victim. You really were a bit nervous about farming, and you fought it for a long time. Why do you think you were so hesitant to do a geographical farm in the beginning? What held you back?
Well, I think I've shared with you, I've done it before, but I think I didn't stay the course. I was inconsistent. I didn't see the results. I'm pretty impatient by nature. So I just would start and stop. So my attitude and my belief system was, it doesn't work. It's not going to work for me. So I'm just going to stop wasting money and time. And that's why I had, it was met with resistance, like, oh, they want me to farm, been there, done that. I don't want to do it. And yeah.
So
and a lot of off course too. So I would stay inconsistent because I get busy and so forth.
So now we do your farming for you, because that helps you so you can be busy and handle the clients and do what you want to do. How has that helped you?
Game changer. I mean, I get kind of that tap on the shoulder from Jamie and says, I need you to proof it. Let me know. And I proof it. I say yes, and then it's done, and set it and forget it. I really am. I'm a girl that needs to be set it and forget it. I'm not. I like to keep everything simple. Yeah.
Well, I think simplicity, when you are doing any kind of marketing, the key to marketing is consistency, and also to have a strong message. The thing that I know that we do for you is making sure that message matches your market, because that's pretty important.
Yes.
But ultimately, you have to stay in the game, right?
Yes.
It's your investment of your time to edit and proof things.
Yes.
It's your investment of money to make sure that you continue the campaign.
Yes.
If I were to say to you today, yeah, we're not going to do farming for you anymore, would you be okay with that, or would you be upset with that?
I would be so devastated. I'd be like that lost child in a park. I wouldn't know what to do or where to go or who to do. I am just, it's like, don't leave me. Jamie, Shauna, Randy, and Denise, you are my legs, my arms. My husband says, you better not. I mean, You're my sanity, really. And I think you guys know that. And it has just been a game changer in my life. And people have asked me from Encore as well as outside. And they said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, the one thing that's made a difference has been farming and staying on top of it. And when people say, but it's not working for me, and I'll say, well, then you have to look at what Denise says. Maybe you need to move your boat. Sometimes you throw the fishing line out there in an area and the fish aren't biting there, but maybe you've moved your boat over here, the fish are biting. You've got to do the stats. You've got to know. And I was just about ready about a month ago to pull the plug on a couple buildings. And one building is quite large. And I got a phone call. And I don't know if she's going to hire me, but she wants to buy something in Boston first and then list. She's a Taiwanese woman. So she probably sees my face and goes, oh, another Asian face. But, you know, I don't only just, but it's just the thought that I almost was going to cancel that building and I get that call. And I thought, oh my God, it gives me chills up my spine that you can't know and you just got to stay consistent. And that's what I tell people. If they're not getting any movement, and depending upon how long, then look at the stats. If it's an area that's not selling that much, then maybe you need to move that boat. But thankfully for me, I've broken into several buildings I would have never gotten the opportunity had it not been my farm. I am so over the moon. I can't even begin to tell you.
I'm really glad that you talked specifically about moving your boat, because I want to now talk a little bit about having the right bait. And we really talk a lot about the importance of making sure that what you send out is something that someone is going to want to pick up. Karen, I'm going to talk to you because your mailings have always been, well, first of all, you've been consistent. You're one of the first people to really catch on to how important it is to be consistent, but also to, you know, add really good data and stats, because that's something we really talk about. Do you want to talk a little bit about what your farming experience has been like and kind of how that has helped your business?
Sure. So I wanted to establish a foothold in my own neighborhood. I have been an agent for years, sold all over the place, and honestly, I wanted to start selling close to home, and I never had really established a foothold in my own neighborhood. And so that's why I started farming in my neighborhood. So I live here. And so I also am a real idea person, and I know the stats and the information that I would like to know, but
Right.
I struggled with the technology, the actual, putting it all together and making it look really professional. And so I think that's one of the things I really appreciate in working with the Lonas Group is, some months, heck, I don't have any ideas, and Jamie puts it together and I love it, and it goes in the mail. But other times I'll say, hey, how about this? Or let's do this. And so I have the idea and Jamie helps me execute it in a really, engaging manner. And that's been a game changer. And I have actually started to become a neighborhood expert, right? Really, people call me, they feel like they know me. They see me at the QFC and, sometimes I see people kind of looking at me and thinking, oh, I know her or something. So, you just consistent year after year, month after month, just continue to mail. And especially in a market right now, like we're experiencing right now with super low inventory. I mean, you get that call and you get that listing and it's gold.
And having one thing that you do consistently is a game changer. Again, the theme from everybody is the consistency factor, but there also it is a leap of faith. I know a lot of agents that either number one, wait to do it, or like Lynn, they try to do it, but it doesn't necessarily work out for them. So they kind of start and stop. But Karen, right from the get-go, you really you had a level of faith. And I don't know, did that come from having a very quick response early on, or what was it that
I-
really worked for you?
Yeah, I think some early successes, but really just talking to other agents and knowing if you have the faith and the consistency, that it will eventually work. I think one of the other big obstacles for anybody who's talking about or thinking about doing farming is the financial aspect of it, right? And, it's a lot. And that is a leap of faith. But I think one of the things I'm really good at is I'm a good budgeter. And so when times are good, I bank those mailers. I mean, I am pretty conservative, but I always try to have 6 months of mailing money in my
Yes.
account. So then I don't have that stress of that money. And that's just what's worked for me.
You know, that is one of the smartest ways to market. Like large companies just have a marketing budget, right? When we build homes, you have a marketing budget. Big business knows about this, but in real estate, we tend to go from transaction to transaction. Do I have enough money to market? But really, you can't afford not to market. And the fact that you're banking that, have one of those leads come in from your farming mailers, take that, the funds and the commissions that you make there, the fees that you get there, and then put those into your marketing budget. And you don't think about it for 6 months. And then when you get the monies that come in, you go from there. One of the other things I tell agents to do is start off with, like you say, minimum 3 months of marketing that you put of a marketing budget that you put into an account, and all of the transactions you do from that farm, make sure that you're accounting for that separate. So you really get that feeling of, wow, look at how much money is in this account just from farming. So you don't worry about that amount. Now, if somebody is thinking about farming, Karen, what advice would you give them?
I think just reiterating some of the things that I had said is get your budget in order. But also, I like to think, what is the information that I would like to receive, right? What is that information? So you're giving information that that people want to hear, right? Who doesn't
Yeah,
want to know what's happening in their neighborhood? And so I think
exactly.
getting a good, consistent, interesting mailing in a format that's really going to grab the people when it comes across. What do they say? You have, I don't know, is it 25 seconds to grab somebody's attention? I don't know exactly what the stat is. When that postcard comes through, you have to have it in a format that's going to make somebody take pause and look at it.
Thank you for that, Karen. I would say that of all of I'll call you guys farmers here today, June, I would say that you have seen the industry change over the years, and you've, talk about that 1 or 2 or 3 seconds to capture someone's attention. Your mailers have only gotten better over time, right? So I've really seen you every time I do a webinar talking about, you might want to think about this or add that. I notice that you slowly but surely just keep getting better. So do you want to talk a little bit about your farming experience and what farming has done for you and your business?
Okay, I started farming in a neighborhood that I moved into about 30 years ago. And back then, I didn't have any money. There was no budget. I typed out what I was going to send, and I ran it through the photocopier on colored paper, and I hand delivered it. And I actually think that the personal touch, people knowing I was there, really helped me, because that neighborhood took off pretty quickly, and I was for sure the dominant agent there within a year and a half. It doesn't happen right away, but it happens, trickles along and builds on itself. And I'm still farming that neighborhood. And because I live there, and there's another farm that I have now that I've been working on for 20 years where I live. And I feel that also being in the neighborhood and having people know who you are, it helps. It helps people realize that you care about the neighborhood and that you know about it. I walk my dogs, and people they think I've the queen of the neighborhood, even if I don't happen to have that many listings at the time. So it's a long-term thing. It's not a short-term, hey, I'm going to try this neighborhood and see how it goes. It's a long-term commitment, but it's been so worthwhile. And it has allowed me to manage my time as a real estate agent better, because being more on the listing side, you're not running off helping buyers look at a house. It's more like you can manage what's happening. Okay, I'm going to do an open house, or I'm going to have a listing appointment. So my time is more my own, and I really appreciate that part of it.
The other thing that I've heard you talk about, which I think is really important, is that there are times for all agents where you're just not necessarily in that heavy, forward motion. You're kind of coasting a little bit, right? What I love about farming, and June, what you and I have talked about, is how the farming allows you, for even those times where maybe you're coasting a little bit, it's like, I don't have to worry. I know my farm's there. I know something's going to pop. And then all of a sudden, boom, you get that phone call. So there's that sense of, I'm still doing something. I'm working even when I'm not working. It's kind of like I talk about pajama marketing, pajama money with investing in real estate, where those real estate investments work for you when you're sleeping. This is pajama marketing, right? So this is pajama mailers. It's that same thing, that consistency. So those mailers are working for you. And long after the mailer goes out, I've had some of you guys say to me, I went on a listing presentation and a woman pulled out a file and she had my last year's mailers, all of them there. And she said, I didn't know when I was going to use you, but I knew I was going to use you because I like your consistency. June, you also are in a neighborhood that you're pretty active in it. You're always walking around, and you recently added the photo of you and your super sweet baby. So you want to talk a little bit about adding personality into your mailing campaigns and how that has been for you?
Oh, I think it's important to let people know that you're not just an agent, that you're a person, you have a life, you have a family, you have your dogs. And so I do have fun pictures that I'll throw in every once in a while about my dogs. I have a beautiful cherry tree right now, and I need to put that in my next mailing because it's in full bloom and it looks so pretty. And people take walks past my house because they're enjoying my tree. So it
That's
just
incredible.
creates a tie to the community and have people,
You
think that
also
you care.
you also are really big into concierge client care. You're in a market that you're in a higher end market. Your farm is a higher end farm market. And I just think by providing that, not just the consistency, but your mailings have great data. It's very customized to your neighborhood. I think it just really helps also to solidify you as that industry expert that does what she says she's going to do, right? So you're consistent and people absolutely love that. What advice do you have for anybody who's thinking about, should I or should I not start a geographical farm?
Oh, I would always suggest you start it, because if you look at most of the bigger, more successful agents, a lot of them, the majority of them have created their business based upon farming. And I would just look carefully at the farm. It's not like, it might not be the neighborhood you're in, but you need to look at kind of the turnover, and also how dominated is it by other people. Like if there's one agent that's always that person, I mean, there's always room for somebody else, but I would also look at that.
Well, I think for all of you, having that, what I'm hearing as that consistent theme is that you might be nervous when you start, and especially Karen, what you said about you got to budget and put that money away. I do think, like I warn people before they farm, you are going to be farming and you may not get a result 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. I've heard people say to me after 18 months, I haven't gotten anything. And then all of a sudden it just pops, right? So having that faith is super important, but also being able to go back and reevaluate your farm is super, super important. Christy, I want to talk to you next. You have been extremely diligent about being consistent with your farm, really looking at that message. The one thing I've loved about working with you is that you take feedback very, very well. I've given you a lot of feedback over the years on how to make things better. Do you want to talk about the evolution of your farming? How you might have started this way, but now you've kind of evolved to this. Maybe share a little bit about that.
Okay. Yeah, so when I started my farm in 2019, and when I first, I mean, I did all of the research I was supposed to do, from like any agents that dominated, even the price point of and then the turnover rate and so on. So I did a bunch of research before, but as far as my mailers, they, you know, when they first started out in their little infancy, they were very word heavy. Not a lot of stats. I don't even think they were visually as impactful. Well, they weren't, not even close to what they are now. When I joined the niche market group, and we really dove heavily into mailers and how they look visually and what you're saying and the information you're providing. I did a I did a branding refresh just to make things have more white space, look really clean. And then as far as the data, you know, putting my personal voice in as well, and having good punchlines, good headlines, enough to make people interested and capture their attention at least for, you know, 30 seconds, so they don't just throw it in the trash. At least they're looking a little bit. And you know, oftentimes I'm one of those people where I go into a listing in my farm, and you know, they pull out their little stack of mailers, and it's kind of amazing and very complimentary, I guess.
Well, the thing that I love about the process that you've gone through is that you now are pretty much an expert on mailers, because I hear you talking and things about to have a successful farm, you cannot be cookie cutter. Okay. All of you guys get there. Also, you talk about, you got to have your personal voice in there. You got to provide more data. You need to have more visual icons, because we are dealing with 4 different personality types. The challenge is, and those 4 personality types generally: supporter, controller, promoter, and analytical. Analyticals like the data. They love to see data and numbers. Make sure you add a source to that. Where'd you get this information from? If somebody is a controller, they want the punchline. Give them the meat and potatoes. Stop with all the fluff. They want to get down to, you know, the real raw data and how you're interpreting it. If you're a promoter looking at someone's mailers, it's got to be visually dynamic. I've got to look at it and go, well, that's interesting. And if it's a supporter, I want a connection. So connect me to my neighborhood, connect me to what's happening locally, regionally, nationally, connect me to you, connect me to a thought or an idea or a challenge in the community, but I need connection. So those 4 elements are like the essential recipe and formula. Over the years, Christy, I've noticed that you just keep refining and keep getting better. So this constant improvement model. Now, what has farming done for your business?
It has completely turned it around. When I started my farm in 2019, and I'd never really done a farm before. So I started in 2019, and I am super consistent and so on. So I was preparing, and I prepare my own mailers until recently. I've incorporated the quarterly, that 16-page quarterly booklet, which I love. But anyway, when I first started, it just completely turned my business around, as far as just being able, like, I didn't get my first listing till month 11. And then from like month 12 to say for the next year and a half, I had like over 38% of my little farming neighborhood. It was amazing. And like I had like 8 listings in the next year and a half. It was a game changer. So I don't
Game
have to
changer.
from payday to
It
payday.
provides consistency for you, right?
Yes. And a
Yes.
sense of relief. And then now that when I go into a listing right now, the owners, it's just kind of weird. You walk in and it's like they're your friends already. They already know, they feel like they know you. And it's refreshing and nice, and I love it. I actually
it's
had an
easy.
agent, sorry, but I had an agent. I tried to eliminate the agents that I know that are in my farm and don't send them my mailers, right?
Right.
But I apparently I missed one. So she contacted me the other day asking me where I get my mailers done. Who does my mailers?
That's crazy.
It's like, you're
You know,
all
it's it's quality, right? You got to
Yeah.
have that quality, that's for sure. Well, you've definitely been very successful. All of you have been very successful, but you all have done a very incredible job of trusting the process, making sure that you just also surrender. Part of being successful with farming is surrendering. Surrendering is where you maybe say, maybe I'm not the best at creating this from start to finish. Maybe I need to surrender. Maybe I need to get some assistance. And you guys have done a great job with that. Now, Lynn, I want you to share a little bit about your experience with farming. And particularly, I want you to talk about you're in an area that I would say is there's a lot of opportunity for farming, but there's also a lot of opportunity to make big mistakes in farming in your area. Because I see a lot of generic marketing, especially if you're in an area where I see this all the time. If you're in an area near water properties, luxury properties, I see a lot of people go, oh, I'm going to farm luxury. Oh, I'm going to farm high-end water. So what happens is you got to have the guts in your kind of market to say, I'm getting into this, I'm sticking with it, and I'm going to be that force of nature in that farm. I'm going to dominate. In your area, I know a lot of people start and stop farming. They do. Water areas, they do it all the time. Luxury areas and golf course communities. I will tell you, you might have 5, 10, 15 agents that start a farm any one given year, and then they say, yep, can't do it anymore. Right. So,
Right.
yeah. So tell us about your journey.
Well, so we have specialized in waterfront for a long time. You know, I think we're in Gig Harbor. We do as far as Kitsap, but our farm is focused in the Gig Harbor, Fox Island area, and it is about 1,580, homes worth of farm. We did farming before, but it was more generic. Like we would have a waterfront current, piece that would go out. The information was great, but it was really not high quality at all. And then, the other sort of ego piece, I would say, would be something like American Lifestyle. So we were really looking to, up our game, especially with Joe retiring, to let the waterfront community know, we are still here. You're still going to get our great service. And then the pieces, so we have the whole year. We started with a huge 16-page piece that was phenomenal. And we were, I think, really fortunate in that from both the first and second mailers, we did have people reach out to us that we wouldn't have necessarily met. The second one, actually, they were ready to have us fill out listing documents for, and ultimately, we didn't do it because they were insisting on being about $100,000 overpriced, and we just didn't think it was beneficial to them or us, frankly, to go along with it. We on the way in, we had the conversation. There were 3 of us. Okay, what? Because we knew that this person was going to be that way. And so on the way in, I said, okay, what's your bottom number? And mine was 1.8. Josh's was 1.75, and Dina's was 2.2, but they were still at 2.9. We're like, yeah, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I love about farming is when you farm for a long period of time, you're the neighborhood expert. And even if I've seen this a lot, even in my own farms, I would have people that would call me because they were using me as a broker price opinion. They just kind of wanted me to give them the price.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. However, I cannot tell you how many times people had said to me, we were actually going to let a family member list this, but you really know this area. So that's the key. So Lynn, what has been your why didn't you farm sooner? What did it take you to finally decide, okay, I think I'm going to do this? Like, why not sooner?
I think we were so we had a person on our team that was really in charge of the marketing piece. And, you know, we let him have that piece. It was, you know, Joe's husband and a part of our team from the beginning. So, you know, he was really in control of that and felt like what we were doing was fine. But because of my involvement with the Lonas group and learning about the different personality types and whatnot, I'm thinking, man, I think we're missing the boat. And we didn't have anything tangible as proof that it was working.
Right.
So
And now you do.
now we do. Yeah.
And I guess you don't want us to take your farm away.
No,
wouldn't
I
stop
don't
farming.
need to take our farm away. And
We
frankly,
would, yeah, we never would.
and you know, we've had a change or two, and honestly, I think everything would have slipped through the cracks. You know, you only have so much time in a day, and I like quality. I want it to look great. I will look forward to the day that the rest of you have where you go to the listing presentation and they have the folder of pieces, because we have
Yes.
great pieces, and I love the collaboration between the team and our team. Love
That's
it.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so good.
So I have a final question for each of you. Okay. What is your favorite part of having a geographical farm? And I'm going to start with Steve.
Favorite part. I guess it's just the feeling of it's not confidence. It's not safety. It's I guess it's the certainty part of it, that I feel that if we keep doing it, that we're certain that we're going to succeed. And although, you know, the flyers don't get money in the bank, that's just like the first step. It's just to
Yes.
introduce you to the person that you want to serve, that you want to help out. So there's a whole lot of things that happen after that you have to follow through on. But it's I feel like it's the certainty that we're going to be able to have that first step to do our job.
That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. Karen.
I think for me, my favorite part is that by the time I get to the house or I get in front of them, they already think of me as the neighborhood expert. I don't have to prove my expertise to them. So that part of the presentation is, we hardly have to go there, right? We can just
That's
get on the brass tacks. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, June.
Okay, for me, I feel that I'm creating relationships with people all the way through the farming process. And it's not just farming, like it's not just mailing out letters. It's about being in the neighborhood I'm a big open house person, and actually have a partner who I'll have come do the open house with me. And he talks to the buyers and I'm there to smooth with the sellers and get to know them. And it creates a situation where even if they're not even thinking about selling, when they are, they're going to know who to call.
Awesome. Okay, Lynn.
Going back to the simplification, set it and forget it. I think just knowing that that's one thing off my plate that I know that's going to get done every month. Out of all the things that we have to do, I know for certain that my monthly mailings are going to go out, and I just don't have to think about it. It'll just happen. And that is a huge relief off my plate.
Awesome. Awesome. Christy. Christy, you're in mute.
So I think just with all of the research that I do, and I know the area so well, I really feel I am the area expert. So when I go in, I just feel super confident. Everything's really easy and it just flows. And you know, and as far as like compensation or whatever, that topic rarely gets even brought up. You know, it's they know that they know that you're the one.
The value's there. The
Yeah.
value's there. That's awesome. Okay, and Lynn,
Well, for me, it is for sure that I know every month an extraordinary piece is going to go out to a farm that shows people that we are the experts. And like Lynn, I don't have to do anything except proof it. And, you know, maybe supply some content, but oh my gosh, it's great. I love that.
awesome. Wow. That's incredible, you guys. What a great, boy, just listening to you guys talk about it, it just inspires me. And it just inspires me to just want to continue doing more and more for you. That's incredible. Wow.
Thank
I
you.
love you guys. You guys are amazing. Shauna, that was amazing.
That was amazing. Well, our team loves collaborating with each and every one of you. You all bring something really unique to the table. You all are the neighborhood experts. We love talking to you and
Yeah.
just like really helping you shine just in the mailbox, right?
Awesome.
Thank you all for your time today. This was very
Yeah,
helpful.
you
I
guys,
know people are
thank
gonna
you.
find that very helpful.
Oh my gosh, you guys are amazing.